Just to give you an insight into what this discussion is going to be about, it is about commercial vehicles, trucks and buses, as we know, but the people here are more into the truck business, so we'll talk about that, which I think amounts about 80% of the CV market in total, or 60 or 80% roughly. The other part is the integrated transport system, which is a reflection of the mobility of the future. And so we have ma'am here who is into the transport business. I think she's quite brave being in that side of the commercial vehicle industry. And so we'll talk about that. And therefore, I'm going to ask her the first question of this panel discussion as to how she sees the future of integrated transport or the transport industry as a whole. Over to you, ma'am.
Thanks, Bhushan. Honestly, I think going forward, of course, we've already seen a transition where for last mile and e-commerce, EV vehicles are playing a very, very important role. OEMs are also looking at higher loads, which we will, of course, hear from them, higher capacity and higher loads. So going forward, EV is definitely going to play a very big role. LNG is going to play a very big role. Multi-logistic parks will play a very, which government is aggressively looking at. We are looking at, and government is looking at building infrastructure. Gati Shakti is playing such an important role where the roads are better, the connectivity is better. So going forward, technology is playing such an important role where OEMs actually are pitching in so much to give information. Apart from, only transporters having their own device, and there's so much information which can actually help transporters to plan their, return loads. So going forward, collaborations are going to work. People are not going to compete. It's not the time to compete. It's time to collaborate and work together. So I think future looks really bright. Logistics sector is going to do it. Road transportation is going to do really, really well because the government is really promoting multi-logistics park. They're really putting in a lot of money in infrastructure. There are freight corridors which are made. So I think it's really good. And of course, EV, LNG, alternative fuels are going to play a very important role. Technologies, like I've been mentioning, OEMs have started giving so much information. Like you can actually track driver's behavior, how he's driving. You can actually give a feedback to them on how their pattern is. You can actually give stoppage report to your clients, make their life simpler. So OEMs are also working very hard in making their customers' life simple, and we are making our customers' life simple by giving them the data.
The next question I'm going to take to Siddharth. Siddharth, you were with Volvo, you were with Eicher, then you went to Daimler, and then you went to a venture which I think is a very brave move. Your company is making electric tippers, the heavy duty tippers. How do you see a future for them? The buses, I understand, are being pushed by the government, but there's this electric trucks, heavy electric trucks, if we may say, which have no godfather, to be frank. So what's the future for such trucks?
Yeah, thanks, Bhushan. Okay, when we look at, let's say, a segment, since you talked about the truck segment, right? So in truck segment, in heavy duty trucks, roughly 25 to 28% of this segment is construction mining tippers. In terms of absolute numbers, it could be around 75,000 to 85,000, depending upon a good or a bad year. Similarly, of course, you also have equal amount of trucks which are tractor trailers. And the rest of the segment, which is around 40 or 50%, is the rigid trucks from 19 tons to 48 tons. Now, when you look at, let's say, electric vehicle as a product, what is the first concern that the customer has? The first concern is what is the commercial viability of the product? Because at the end of the day, we are in commercial transport. So I don't think that there could be any customer who would be willing to increase his cost per ton or take losses and invest in any alternate fuel for that matter, or particularly electric vehicles. So if you look at the construction and mining space, these are the applications where you can have a very high utilization of the product. So for example, mining, already the trucks which are operating, they are operating for 21 hours a day out of 24 hours. Construction, you have got variety of segments, but there are segments where you can have the truck operating for anywhere between 14 hours per day to 16 hours. Okay, so upwards of 12 hours, I would say so. And that is where the commercial viability of the product becomes attractive, number one. Number two is, since these products are operating within the confined segments, they don't necessarily operate on the, let's say, the CMVR loads. In fact, we have categorized our product as construction equipment vehicle. So it is more like an off-highway dump truck. So the customer is able to take the advantage of the payload, one. Number two, he is able to take the advantage of higher operating hours. So the only equation that needs to be solved is how do we give a customer 18 to 20 hours of operation in a day. Of course, not in single charge, but can we do it? And that is something that Propel has been working on. And I can proudly say that today possibly we have the highest level of utilization. We sold our first set of trucks in July 2023, and which will be now next month completing 24 months. In 24 months, these trucks have clocked 12,500 hours, which is almost 6,200 hours per year, which is a phenomenal utilization. Okay, so, also it makes it a little simpler because you can then manage the truck in terms of service support by offering site support and stuff like that, in a better way, rather than spreading too thin and wide. So, we are leading right now in this segment, but I can clearly see that if you look at the adoption of heavy duty trucks to electric, you will have construction and mining segment adopting it first, followed by tractor trailers, and then possibly by rigids, And the reason why rigids will be a little difficult for electric vehicles is because if you want the range, then you need a higher battery capacity. Higher the battery capacity, higher the weight or dead weight of the battery. So you lose on the payload, number one. And number two is, of course, the higher the battery capacity, higher the product cost. So, that segment is extremely price sensitive segment compared to tractor trailers and compared to construction trucks. So I definitely believe that the adoption will be better in construction mining segment for electric vehicles. That's my personal sense.
There's one part of the question that probably you missed out or overlooked. The private electric or the electric truck segment doesn't have a godfather.
Doesn't have a godfather? No, I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say so. I think from the current fossil fuel that we have been operating in this segment to a total, let's say, zero emission trucks or net zero, that road, which is going to be for next 3 to 4 decades, is not a straightforward road. It is what we call something saying messy middle, right? So you will have all sorts of fuels that will be operating simultaneously. So you will have natural gas, whether it's CNG or LNG or biofuels. Diesel definitely for at least next 7 to 10 years will continue to be the number one fuel across all these segments. So the balance 50% is going to be between all the other fuels, whether it's LNG, CNG, electric, hydrogen, hydrogen ice, FCEV, whatever, right? So I think all automobile companies have a challenge that where they want to bet their money. Nobody can do everything, like what Rima was saying, that it's not a time to compete, it's a time to collaborate, right? So nobody can do everything. I think people will have to choose in terms of, but I think, we are capable enough of doing our own design. And I think, we have gone through our learning curve. And maybe if it doesn't have a godfather, then maybe we will take that position and take that role, okay?
Because
I agree to Siddharth that diesel is going to dominate at least for a while because we are into pharma, right? And also confectionaries, and it goes at a certain temperature. Right now, no other alternative fuel is completely proven that we can carry, those products in a reefer container without diesel, because we have standalone diesel, containers to carry those products. So I completely agree with him that diesel is going to dominate for a while.
So I'll go to Mr. Chaudhary from what Rima ma'am said, from what Siddharth said. You are a legacy diesel truck manufacturer. You have Volvo by your side, which is a global, one of the leading commercial vehicle manufacturers. Point is, what made you go to a electric small truck, and what do you think its future is like?
Thanks, Bhushan, and thanks for having me in the panel, because it's such to be part of one person who's leading this transport. And we are proud to say that we are making vehicles with a women assembly line, and I'm sharing this panel with a woman who's leading a large fleet of vehicles. And Siddharth, who has been my colleague as well in past. So coming directly to your question, Bhushan, that see, the industry is evolving, and there are a lot of sustainability goals which are there. The government is committed towards the net zero targets, and subsequently the ecosystem around the logistics is also gearing up for that. Yes, we are a legacy ICE manufacturer for last 4 decades now, and we are partnered with Volvo, which is, we are going to complete 100 years of Volvo very shortly. Why we entered into electric vehicles is because the segment is getting fragmented now, because mile, mid-mile, and these are the applications which are required with the development of Q-commerce. Now everything is required in a just like that. 5 minutes you think of something, it should be delivered at your place. So these are the things which are required, these are the vehicles which are required to deliver those things, because the towns are getting congested. You can't move around with bigger vehicles in these things, and the stuff is required at the place. So these are the applications which these vehicles are going to service with. So I see a great future. Maybe the adoption of these vehicles will take some time, but going ahead, like for example, like Delhi government has announced a EV policy itself. So it's very favorable, and I'll say because of the challenges which they are facing, but it's a very practical thing for a town like Delhi. Leave apart the environment, the congestion which is there. You can't have big trucks coming in a town like Delhi to service the customer requirement.
See, today, Saurabh from Yulo Motors was supposed to be part of this discussion. For some unavoidable reason, he could not come. Otherwise, I had a question for him, because he too is in the last mile transportation side of business. Point is, I am going to take that question to you again, asking you, what is a customer like for the kind of trucks, for the kind of electric truck that you made? It's certainly not going into the retail space yet. It is more institutional in nature. Is that a limiting factor? What are the expectations as institutional buyers? And when will such a vehicle reach to a retail buyer, making it a freedom solution for such customers or operators?
So I'll add on to what Siddharth said. People want to adopt this thing as a technology, but the cost comes as a barrier to them. That's why we decided to be in the institutional space. And these are the customers who are looking for solutions like this. Because if that organization needs to achieve their goals, the sustainability goals, carbon emissions, the net zero goals, these are the vehicles which can provide that solutions. The difficulty which we are facing is, we have to explain to our customer that how this operation has to be managed, because a customer is used to managing an ICE vehicle very easily. You go to any fuel station and the vehicle can refilled immediately. There is no kind of objections, or there is a bottleneck over there. When you come with an EV, there is a thought in mind where I will get this vehicle charged. But now with the policy which the government is coming up with, and the kind of push which the government is having, right now the government is pushing on the infrastructure development, like EV charging infrastructure. I'm quite sure in going future, the adoption will improve very, very fast on this.
Ma'am, I'm going to come to you.
I just want to add before you go there.
Sure.
So many of the corporates, they are committing to ESG goals, maybe from, let's say, their own sustainability ambitions, or maybe because of investors and stuff like that. Some of the corporates, of course, are listed outside India also. Now, when you look at, for example, let's look at any e-commerce player. Let's look at Amazon, or let's look at Flipkart. They have long-haul trucks which move from, let's say, from Gurgaon to Bhiwandi, and Bhiwandi to Bangalore, and so on and so forth. Then you have mid-mile trucks, and then you have last mile. Now, if you take a size of this company, possibly they are using 30,000 trucks in their delivery chain. Now, when you go and talk to them in terms of how are they going to look at meeting their ESG goals or sustainability ambition, it is very difficult because of the technology and the cost constraints to target the long haul truck. So but long haul trucks are, if in the ratio, if the long haul trucks are like 10 to 15%, the mid mile trucks are 30%, and the rest of it is all last mile. So actually, in terms of somebody has to start talking in terms of how much of their fleet percentage has moved to electric, they can actually throw a very big number by targeting small commercial vehicles or even two-wheelers. I mean, all these bikes that go and come and deliver, right? I mean, tomorrow they change those bikes to all electric, then those are much more bigger in number compared to the small commercial vehicles or three-wheelers. And then, of course, three-wheelers is much higher compared to mid-haul, So, why it is right now corporate? It's corporate because beyond the cost, they are also looking at ESG goals. And why not retail? But I'm sure that, in this segment that Abhishek is talking, I won't be surprised that maybe we are very close to a tipping point in another 6 years, 6 months or 1 year time. And people will start, even in retail segment, they will start considering it.
Interesting. Ma'am, I'm going to come to you. You have Eicher trucks in your fleet. You know we commercial vehicle as the company that makes it. If they were to offer you an electric truck as a customer, how would you look at the viability of it? Because you will buy a truck that you will want to run for at least 8 years. Given the cost of an electric vehicle compared to an ICE equivalent, it will be more. How would you look at it in terms of fitting into your business equation?
So I was actually having this discussion with Abhishek some time back, and that time I just told him I don't think it will work for us because we actually are mainly into reefer, and I don't think the EV with space of reefers completely come into picture right now, and there's been any homework because we are right now looking at only ambient business, that's normal transportation. I would definitely adapt to a EV vehicle for local deliveries, but of course my cost has to be justified and my freight has to be justified, right? Because EV is of course more expensive. Another challenge is to get drivers for EV vehicles because mainly in our segment where we are into diesel, most of them are so used to driving, Hindi में बोलते हैं ना diesel चोरी होती है, EV में क्या चोरी करोगे? So, that is another thing which is very, very, हमारे लिए वो difficulty हो जाता है because suddenly if we get into that segment, because as much as we are into reefer, we also do some part of ambient business for, few locations. We do part load and full truckload. For those locations which are nearby, I would look at EV, but it has to be at a reasonable cost where we can get that kind of freight back from our customers, and also we get drivers. I was telling Abhishek, I think you should start with a strategy where you start supplying drivers also.
I'm coming to you. From what she said, I'm coming to you. You have spoken about buyer-friendly financial services. Isn't that enough, or there's more to it than what we see outside of the industry?
So first I'll respond to what Rima said. See, today customers like her also are optimizing their logistics like this. There are 2 of my customers, we just started our journey about in March itself, who are running this vehicle for a distance of 250 kilometers on one trip with one charge in midway. And the cost optimization is such that they're looking at transferring all the ICE applications to this vehicle. So once you develop an ecosystem and people are aware about that ecosystem, it is so addictive that even the driver does not want to leave the vehicle. One surprising thing about an EV vehicle is that it comes with a very high torque. The journey which a normal ICE vehicle takes, even with the recharge in between, the journey time will be equivalent, or at times even lesser. And the operational benefit to an operator will be humongous if you run a vehicle of a particular distance. Coming to the specific on the finance, there's a lot of support which is coming up, and the customers are looking at various kind of financing which are available. Since right now it's not a very mass product where the retail buyers are not there, So fintechs are playing a very significant role in supporting this ecosystem, and with large captive players which coming in and their place. So traditional financiers are also participating in the industry by understanding the product. To make things easy for them, we are taking them and making them understand the technology, the difference which this technology offers over the traditional technology, and the benefit which the customer will get by using this technology. So that's where we are having a marriage, and it is taking time, but definitely it's a very enriching thing. I can tell you, Bhushan, if a financier sees the vehicle and the facility which we are adopting to make this vehicle, they are mesmerized.
Can I actually add to this? I've actually visited their Bhopal plant, and I have driven the truck, and it's really good. It was as good as driving a passenger vehicle. The pickup was amazing. I was, in fact, discussing the same. And the whole facility, they have, the whole EV truck production is done by women. They have, it was beautiful. It was an amazing experience. I just wanted to add to what he was saying.
Thanks, Rima. And to add one point is, to make driver coming to this system is, you have to make an ecosystem friendly for them as well. It's a very comfortable vehicle, mostly automatic, driver not used to automatic vehicles, so it relieves him with a lot of pain which he goes through his journey in making a driver vehicle. You need to pay him certain more, and that you can recover from the operations which you do with this vehicle, and it's possible.
But then the driver can't steal diesel anymore. So how do we compensate him for that?
So, Bhushan, in India, people are used to stealing anything. There is an instance where they are stealing electricity as well. Electricity stealery.
No, with the high voltage systems on electric trucks, I don't think they can do that. So Siddharth, I want to come to you in reference to what he said. How is the ecosystem evolving for construction trucks, construction electric trucks, or trucks, those typically those tippers that would work in mines? Because one of your competitors is, I think he has caught hold of a transporter or an aggregator who is trying out trucks in mines, electric trucks in mines.
I don't know about electric trucks in mind, but yeah, I mean, they're basically a charging company who are also into transport, that much I understand. So first of all, I mean, construction mining is simple. So for example, because you're operating in closed circuit, right? So your truck is in 5-7 kilometers vicinity. So you can also have captive charging solutions. So for example, when we sell an EV, we also sell a charger. And then the customer can manage it. It's not a big issue, except that we are because we have a high battery pack. Our charger capacities are huge. The promise that we give a customer is that 10% to 90%, 100% charge in 60 minutes. So 0 to 100 in 70 minutes, 10 to 100 in 60 minutes. So that's not the problem, but I can only tell you that a lot of innovative solutions are coming for on-road. There are companies who want to invest in charging infrastructure. They are not shy. There are companies who want to pay per use. So they will basically come back and they will do a contract saying, if you are willing to commit XYZ units per month, willing to do that. Unlike fuel, you can sell electricity at any price. So you may, if you install electricity charger and if the rate the government is charging you 12 or 13 rupees per unit, you will have a lot of people who may want to do it at 5 rupees, 6 rupees, 7 rupees also, because they are also in the back end somewhere generating solar power. Okay, so I think, there is no dearth of innovation happening in the charging infra space. In fact, the maximum money in the electric vehicle is going to be made in charging. It is not going to be made on the truck, because the truck does not need any great maintenance. There is hardly any moving part. There are hardly any loops, okay, that are required. So there is aftermarket business is really not so great, so to say. If a product is good, so the money is actually in charging infra. So I don't see that as an issue. I see the issue in terms of regulations and the process required for somebody to come and set up a charging infrastructure. Now, if you are traveling, let's say, from Mumbai-Nagpur highway, Somebody wants to invest on the charging infra. What is the biggest investment? The biggest investment is land, right? And land is a very safe investment in India. And you can imagine what kind of people will be investing in that kind of land. So there will be always a face and or a promoter, and then there is always be a financier who is standing behind that promoter. So it's just that, you know, people have still not got used to this whole idea of adopting it, because it does come with some kind of risk. It does come with some kind of adjustments that you may need to do. Some of those practical challenges that she is stating on the driver's side and so on and so forth. But I think the ecosystem will come up. It will definitely come up much rapid than what we are imagining.
On a lighter side, if there's a lot of money to be made in on the charging infrastructure side of things, why won't a electric truck manufacturer look at it as one of a diversifying area,
So
rather than to just only make trucks?
yeah, it depends upon where you want to focus. So let me tell you today that on case-to-case basis, Propel is willing to set up and sell power. We can do that. Okay, and I think it's not charging infra, it is the selling of electricity.
You mean green energy?
Green energy is one, we can do that also. Okay, but that we can do that in our home state, because the regulations are simple. So we generate power in Tamil Nadu through solar, we transfer it within Tamil Nadu. But if I generate power on solar or wind in Tamil Nadu, and I have to support somebody in Uttar Pradesh or West Bengal, then the process is complicated. But there is a process that you can also do that. And if you generate excess electricity on solar and give it back to the grid, you only maximum get 2.5 rupees. As compared to the same power, if you are consuming, you are paying minimum 6 or 7. So I'm only saying that there's a lot of money that can be made on the truck. It's like selling fuel. You buy a truck, ICE truck once, okay, and whatever you pay, then maybe you pay 10% of that every year on AMC. But diesel, if you start putting diesel on everyday basis, that's a huge amount. It's a multiple X of the truck price. Same is the case with electric also.
But somewhere isn't an electric commercial vehicle manufacturer working more, he's got more on his plate than an IC commercial vehicle manufacturer would, because you at one end you're looking at building a supply chain for components that go into making of your trucks. At the other end, there are the supply chain part of it where you look at dealers, you look at financiers, you look at the infrastructure. Isn't too much of it on your plate?
In terms of, so if your question is there not too much for you to focus on, and is that the question?
Are you not looking at too many things than an IC truck manufacturer would?
No, so I was answering in the context of a lot of people believe that charging infra is a bottleneck. It is. But I am saying that it is a bottleneck not because the technology is not available or investors are not available. Maybe it's a bottleneck because of something else. Okay. So I'm not saying that, you know, the automotive companies of the world should give up their businesses and look at charging infra. I'm only saying that charging infra solution can be much done faster if the setting up of the infrastructure is simpler. I mean, just to give you an example, if somebody is operating, let us say, 5 Propel trucks in a mine, he would need nothing less than 2.5 megawatt power. 2.5 megawatt power is like setting up of a small plant, power plant, right? Now just imagine somebody is operating hundreds of trucks in mines, electric, whether it's Propel or anybody else. They would need a small power plant, man. Now to setting up that, so if you are a mining contractor, you would want to focus on your business. You don't want to go and do. But there are people who are willing to do that, provided there is a commitment and if the process is little simpler and faster. That's all I'm trying to say.
Because there's also this discussion about grid, having smart grids, having enough electricity to support proliferation of electric vehicles. Not just electric trucks that we are talking about, but proliferation of the entire electric vehicle fleet that is coming. 2-wheelers, 4-wheelers, passenger vehicles also growing, commercial vehicles are growing. Buses, too many of buses do we see in cities that are electric today. The trucks are adding to it. And it's not just you, there are too many companies who are entering into trucks. Olectra, which makes buses, not many would know, is also gotten into electric trucks and tippers for that matter. I think they're direct competitors to you. There are many other companies as well. So at various segment points, there are a lot of electric vehicles that are emerging. The grid is the question, green energy is the question, and supply chain is the question. Now there was this issue of rare earth magnets, which is more dearer to an electric vehicle manufacturer than an IC vehicle manufacturer. These challenges, as you look at the future, how do you see them, and what could be the outcome in terms of smoother transition?
So yes, definitely. I mean, the supply chain challenges, as you put right now, that's more because of geopolitical situation. Plus, of course, I mean, it's not just about India, but the entire EV space. Let's admit that China is way ahead when it comes to maturity to EV technology. So there is going to be a lot of dependence on China for quite a while. So to that extent, one can say that yes, there is dependence, and it will take its own time to kind of streamline. That goes without saying. Coming to the other part in terms of too many players coming in, I think yeah, eventually, if we say 5 decades down the line, we have to move to net zero or zero emission trucks. This is a space. So now, if you traditionally look at, let's say, electric two-wheelers or electric cars, you would notice that the early adopters or the early companies were not traditional auto companies. So Tesla was not a car maker. BYD was not a car maker. We had car makers with centuries of legacy, right? But they didn't come. Same was with two-wheelers. But eventually, of course, like everybody is coming in now, those guys have been able to maintain their first mover advantage. But maybe in bikes and two-wheelers, maybe the traditional companies will take over. For example, Ola Electric was not a two-wheeler maker, right? But they had an advantage. Now, of course, TVS and other guys are catching up. So that can't be avoided. As far as the grid and the green, there are a lot of solutions being proposed. Even government and Niti Aayog is working on how do we kind of manage. So I think it's a developing space. Innovation is coming. My simple point is that the progress is happening much rapid than what it thought. So for example, a couple of years back, in like Abhishek said, we were colleagues. I used to work in Aisha. Couple of years back, whenever we would talk about electric, everybody would say, "Nahi, yaar, it's bahut dur hai, forget it." And I have seen that in many companies, then those kind of discussions. And then, of course, when Auto Expo happened, I think in the beginning of this year, and like everybody felt that everything is there. I mean, we are not ready. So people would come up and say, customer is not ready to buy. Today, that's not the case. Customer has clearly understood that there is a cost advantage also with EV, provided I have the right application. So if I'm able to run the truck, if it's within that range, etc., the cost advantage is phenomenal. So customer is ready to buy. Manufacturers are having whatever technology, you can always say it's still 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers, fine. But there are use cases for that. You have charging infrastructure available. So I think the adoption can be very rapid. We can be totally off guard. So you will never come to know what's the bottleneck. Is rare earth the bottleneck, or is the customer the bottleneck, or is charging infra the bottleneck? So yeah, we have to keep our eyes on how the situation is developing in all areas.
Some days back, I read in the papers that there were a group of European journalists. They took out Tesla cars from the Berlin factory in Germany, and they drove across Europe, and they compared the issues they faced during the journey in terms of charging infrastructure, in terms of fast charging, and then when they compared it with the diesel vehicle, they still found that the diesel still made more sense. So it was one could argue about that as to how they went about and what were the nitty-gritties and all that. But somewhere that put a case in front that ICE vehicles still have a future. Now diesel has been the staple fuel in trucks, in commercial vehicles. How do you, I'll go to Mr. Chaudhary, how do you see the upcoming of electric trucks is it more transitional in nature, where eventually you go to a most sustainable fuel, as the chief guest of today's event seemed to say that, okay, hydrogen will be the most sustainable fuel at the end of the day. Again, that is something which will require a new infrastructure altogether. You can't just convert the petrol pumps into dispensing hydrogen. Point is, it will be more like electricity, the setting of electric grids and electric infrastructure for electric vehicles. How do you look at that? Would hydrogen be the last fuel of the future? Is electric more transitionary for commercial vehicles, especially trucks, which are cargo vehicles, which are found in various sizes, last mile, mid mile, first mile? How will that work?
So everything will coexist. Nothing is going to finish altogether. ICE is going to be there because ultimately ICE existence is there for quite some time, and the penetration of ICE is pretty high. Electric vehicle, like, yes, green energy, it is being developed. As he suggested, that the solar is getting up and getting up very, very fast in India. And we have abundance of solar energy available in this country. Wind power, which is available, which is there. So it is converting from all the traditional form of energy to green energy in that. Coming to this specific question on the technology, yes, it has to stabilize now, because the availability of fuel is a concern. Like, if you go for LNG, if you go for hydrogen, those fuels have to be there, and the technology which can sustain on that. As a company, we are working on all the alternatives, and as and when the infrastructure is available, we will be ready with that solution. And as you rightly said, it's not easy to convert the existing fuel stations to an hydrogen station or an LNG station, or for that matter, electric charging. It's very tough because it will take time. The transition will have its own journey. As Siddharth was touching upon a point, it took a lot of time for the two-wheelers. Now, good 20% of the two-wheeler industry is moved to that segment. Three-wheelers are moving in that segment. Cargos are moving in that segment. So the movement is very, very, very slow, but it is happening. Same is the case when it comes to personal movement as well as for the logistics movement. The technology, when it's available, it will come. There are certain sectors where LNG is coming as a solution. Trucks are running on those routes and providing solutions to the customers. So all of us are waiting for the right technology and right infrastructure which can support that technology in coming in time. Just to add one point which Siddharth was touching upon, that on the EV, there are a lot of players who are ready to set up infra, which if you demand, there are a lot of infra which can be set up for your captive requirement as well. We are not dependent on someone else to support your vehicle. And as he rightly suggested, and electricity can be a business also, because you can use the electricity for your own captive use, as well as can distribute or sell it to the people who are using the electric vehicles but not having their captive applications.
Also, I spoke about transition. Is electric technology a transitionary technology which will eventually lead to hydrogen, or do you think that's...
No, it will coexist. It will be coexisting. That will be, when CNG came, it was thought that CNG will replace the entire fuels. That's not the case. Today, CNG is existing, diesel is existing. There are biofuels which are existing, and there are biodiesel which has come up. So government is coming with a lot of solutions which have to coexist, because there cannot be one solution for each and every answer which we have, or a question which we have in this market. So everything will coexist.
I was coming to you.
Most of the e-commerce, last mile or secondary market, you will see a lot of EV, and that I don't think is going to go. A lot of startups, and like he said, Zepto and Blinkit, all of them, we are so used to now, COVID has taught all of us, 10 minutes mein delivery chahiye, everything you want at aise chahiye. So I think EV is not going to go anywhere.
But tell me something, as a transporter, you said you do pharma, where the containers have to be temperature controlled. That is one of the reasons why you are sticking to diesel. How do you look at this? Would you move to an electric commercial vehicle, or if given a choice, would you move to a LNG commercial vehicle in the future, or would you move to a hydrogen commercial vehicle? I mean, as a transport, doesn't this all confuse you, or think that, okay, the future looks uncertain? As to which way do I go in terms of my TCO, in terms of my profitability?
Future looks uncertain, because honestly, nothing is proven, right, for us, for refer, for pharma especially, and we also do confectionaries. Till the time, and we will put our hands in this, any segment, be it hydrogen or EV, till the time it's not proven, we will not put our hands in that. Till the time we know the kilometers, because when you talk of pharma, it is timely delivery, because it can be import, export, or it can be raw materials or domestic. And of course the temperature has to be sustained on how many kilometers it will run. Of course, Abhishek ji did say that utna hi time lagega jitna the diesel takes, but once the infrastructure is in place, how many trucks are going to get charged, how many electric, there are challenges, right? At least for example, if I have to take my load from Mumbai to Goa at 600 kilometers, it may take me 2 days to deliver. How many times will I have to charge? What is the load capacity? So we will only invest in an EV, maybe only when it's proven for reefer or even hydrogen. It's too early to say, so it's quite confusing for us right now. But like I mentioned earlier, if you're looking at secondary market where we have to do local deliveries, which is non-reefer, we would look at this segment for sure.
So your primary line of business, that means that essentially describes as pharma
And
goods
confectionery.
carrier,
Yeah.
is something where electric vehicles may not fit into the equation.
Right now, as of now, no.
And you said until it's proven, so who will prove it?
OEMs.
So just to add what Rima is saying, yes, electric vehicle has to be proven to a customer, and once proven to the customer, they adopt that technology. EV in reefer is a developing technology, and today EV trucks for reefer are giving that solution to the pharma space as well. The only thing which we need to address is, which Siddharth also touched initially, is on the ratio of payload and the distance. But if you want to have a last mile delivery of a molecule or a finished goods in pharma, currently EV vehicles can provide that solution. We have that solution, and it's good that we are the connect is there with the customer. The interaction is there with the customer to understand the business. The customer understands us, we understand their business. And that's what we have done as well. When we introduced our product, we co-created with our customers. We went through the journey cycle with the customer, and we understood what their business is, and definitely it helped us to develop a product to meet their expectations.
Siddharth, I'm going to come to you. Aren't electric trucks also software-driven vehicles essentially?
Software driven? Yeah. I think they are software driven. There's no doubt about it. Of course, I'm not an expert on that topic, but yes, they are software driven. But I just want to come back to the previous one.
Isn't too much of software in it, which is taking
no,
care
no,
of?
no, no. So the way you have engine management system, we got battery management system.
Exactly.
Everybody needs nowadays telematics, so they want to see access to a lot of data, both manufacturers as well as customers. So to that extent, you will have software. So I don't think it has got overloaded with software. It is just that because it's a premium product and expensive, the manufacturers try to offer more safety features and stuff like that, so that the customer gets some more recovery or value add. But I don't think that per se as a technology it needs any excessive software. But yes, it is not without software. I just want to on the other point, which was a very interesting debate, and this debate I was witness to around 2 weeks back in a similar commercial vehicle related forum. And I think, everybody was, at the end of the discussion, everybody was on a different page on what fuel is for the future. So as I mentioned to you that it's a messy middle, number one. Number two, at least for next 7 to 10 years, diesel will be number one fuel across segments, across. I'm talking commercial vehicles. Huh? So fight is only for the second and the third, which one will come. Now coming to the hydrogen part of it. So hydrogen has a hydrogen ICE platform, which some global manufacturers are working. And of course, then you have hydrogen fuel cell. Hydrogen fuel cell is also electric vehicle. So though it's being powered not by battery, but it's FCEV. So that's also an EV. Coming to the hydrogen ICE, which seems to be simplistic because the engineering is understood and, but the challenge is with the dispensation of that fuel, number one. Number two is, for hydrogen ICE vehicles to give you a range of 1,000 kilometers, which today LNG possibly can give, uh, you need to use the system at 700 bar pressure, which is not,
Which is quite high.
which is quite high and currently not permitted by PESO. So PESO is currently talking of 350 bar. Now with 350 bar, you will get the range of hydrogen truck half or less than half. So it will come back and start competing with electric tractor trailer, right? So I mean, there is a lot of things to be solved. Yes, you wouldn't be, one can't say it will be transitionary in nature, but if there are two technologies that we can say zero tailpipe emission, it is battery electric and FCEV. Everything else will have some kind of carbon emission. So whether it will, so maybe it could be battery electric in certain segments, like for example, I don't see small commercial vehicles getting into FCEV or hydrogen. Maybe you could be right that tractor trailers may not remain on battery electric, they may move to FCEV. Buses may not remain on battery electric, they may move to FCEV. That's pretty possible. Some segments can move to H2 ICE also, depending upon if the technology moves up and all of that. So it's quite possible.
Last question, Mr. Chaudhary, if you could answer. I touched upon SDVs, I mean software-driven vehicles. I mean trucks today may not have taken so much to it, but how do you look at it from a future point of view where it's going more driverless? Maybe starting with a port operation, maybe starting with an airport operation, but eventually going to some on-road cases where they work as a driver assistant system rather than replacing the driver, making it more safer for him, more comfortable for him. With EVs, I think you are already on that journey.
I am, software is, first I'm addressing to what, adding to what Siddharth said. Softwares are something which are required because it's a connected world. You need to be connected with the vehicle. You need to connect it with your customer, the end user, and the person who's operating the vehicle. The entire journey has to be very connected, and for that technology is required and softwares are required. So these are basic minimal technology which are there, but I can say currently very much required and not very complicated also, and been up for quite some time. In fact, in 2020 we introduced first connected trucks, and we are maintaining that stand. All our trucks which are rolling out from both the plants are connected trucks. Coming on the driverless part, it's very important element of our business. We just can't think of diminishing. Before we came for this discussion, Rima was insisting that we should come up with a school where we can develop drivers and drivers can be provided with the vehicles. Restricted applications which you saw talked about port or airports, yes, it can be thought, but I think so in trucks it will take some time because availability of manpower, at least in this country, is not a challenge in terms of that. And rather than investing on that technology, we should invest on improving the technology which are there, which can make the system more efficient as of now for India. Maybe going ahead in future that could be worked upon. So we should have efficient tracks where the expectations of Rima could also be met, the expectation of the market could also be met.
And let me tell you, drivers really earn well.
So
This is employment. India is growing. It's just a myth that drivers don't make because they, in their mindset, see, I think what they lack is the recognition, right? And the respect. If you start respecting and giving them that recognition, like for example, abroad, if we have to shift houses, someone like us would be driving a truck and shifting our houses, right? And no one is going to disrespect us, right? Because even वहाँ पे आप अपना घर पेंट करोगे, no one will tell you आप पेंटर हो. वहाँ पे respect सब देते हैं. यहाँ, it's just about the mindset of people need to change. Drivers really earn well.
Driver has to be recognized as a profession.
Yes, he has to be given respect.
Probably I did not frame it well, but I was talking about driver assistance systems where a feature like lane keep assist would help him, or emergency adapt to emergency braking or adaptive cruise
You're talking of
control would help
ADAS,
him.
right?
So autonomous.
Yeah.
So not replacing the driver,
Yes.
but ensuring that he's better assisted.
So we've introduced
and
this
drive safer.
Yeah, thanks for correcting, Bhushan. So we've introduced this feature in the small commercial vehicle that we've introduced in the market, and it is really helpful. The feedback which we have got from the customers is very encouraging. It is a feature which tells the driver to be attentive on the road. There are many times which are disturbance which is created, like your phone is ringing, like you're having a yawn, or some kind of distraction which is there.
Feeling sleepy at the wheel.
Feeling
I mean, a lot of
sleepy.
accidents
Fatigue.
today
Fatigue.
on the highways are
So
caused by that.
Those features which we have adapted, it's a DSMS which we have installed on a vehicle. It informs the driver that you be attentive. Not only the driver, the person who's managing the fleet, sitting somewhere far, is also informed there's a beep. So he gets connected with the driver that please be attention on the road. So it solves the issue of accidents which are there. We are not saying that it will become zero, but if we are able to reduce the accidents, it's very good. And on the lane assistance, currently it is it's not there, but what is happening is it tells the driver that how much distance he has to maintain with the vehicle which is in the front. The collision has to be avoided at what distance.
Speaking about the future, today we drive, some of us at least drive cars which have level 2 ADAS on the paper. Actually, there will be a lot of arguments that if it works or if the emergency braking feature is too intrusive and would want to be turned off. That is one part of the story. The other part of the story is for that kind of ADAS to come on trucks, which will aid a transporter like her in having a better safety record. Even if the driver does drive for longer hours than you may want to permit him, and maybe for the sake of earning more money, and cause an accident or be saved by a feature like this at the end moment. How do you see that happening in the future? How those systems could mature on a truck, electric or otherwise?
So future is for that technology is there because the kind of infrastructure which the vehicle is moving now. You talk about Delhi, Bombay being covered in 12 hours. It's a dream come true, and the kind of speed which you can maintain on those roads. That kind of technology is definitely required, and it will work, and it will definitely be beneficial for the overall ecosystem because safe for the driver and safe for the people around him as well. You're not even, you should not be only concerned with the driver only, but the people who are running their vehicles next to the truck also.
Right.
So these kind of technologies are being worked upon, and definitely when required can be provided as well.
As a transporter,
I've been a part of Smart Driver Awards, and I was interviewing few drivers. And one of the questions which I'd asked I'd interviewed around 21 in this season, and I asked them, do you guys know what ADAS is? And few of them did know what ADAS is. And there are so many applications, like Abhishek said, there are alerts which come to not only the driver, but also the person who's handling the fleet management in their own company. They also get alerts. So when they get an alert, they can immediately call the driver and say, okay, संभाल के चला, because you're not paying attention. There are cameras which detect their fatigue or they're tired, and where the cameras actually speak and say, please park the vehicle on the side and please take rest for some time and then drive.
as a transporter, how much would you want to pay for such systems to be on board as premium features?
I would have paid if my clients are paying me the premium, honestly. And I'm being very truthful about it. All technology comes with a cost. Of course, OEMs first few years give us a very lovely reports and lovely alerts, and then after some time we are charged subscription. But honestly, for me, what happens is, because we are into cold chain, we already have our own vendor, we are using for telematics. How many telematics vendors am I going to use? So I think an integrated platform is very, very important, where, for example, if I'm using an Aisha vehicle and they integrate my temperature sensors, and I don't mind paying for that. And ADAS feature, so customers' demands are too many. Like for them also, they'll feel our demands are too many, right? So our customers also, and we have to deal with a lot of compliances because we work for pharma. So, but when it comes to giving the kind of freight, they don't. So if I get the kind of rate and I show them the kind of premium and they understand, of course, in all forums, every client and every person will come and say, oh yes, let's go green, let's do this. But when it comes to get business, we don't really get that kind of rate. And I'm sure Abhishek will also say Rima is one of the customer for me like that, right? So if we are definitely happy to spend on ADAS feature, definitely for safety of drivers. But our drivers, let me tell you, drivers are very smart nowadays. They also use technology very well. जो दिखाना है वो दिखाते, नहीं दिखाना है नहीं दिखाते.
Right.
वो हमसे smart है.
Interesting.
Just add
So
one
the-
second on this, Bhushan. Technology is something which is coming in, and it's some time back no one thought about a connected vehicle. Today connected vehicle is there, and it is going to exist. You want to know what is happening with your vehicle. So people have adopted. So time is not far when ADAS technology will not get adoption, and as
I think
Rima
it's
said,
also
she
going
will
to
get.
become, I think if I'm not mistaken, I mean, one of the forums I'd heard, it is going to become like in future, government will only enforce for safety for drivers to get an ADAS. You know.
You mean like the air conditioning rule
Yes,
that is just
that's what I heard.
which will come in October.
Yeah.
Siddharth, I want you to conclude our panel discussion with how do you look at such autonomous systems or driver assistance systems, safety systems? Now, air conditioning is being mandated under the premise that, okay, it will make it safer. The driver will concentrate better. In a environment where temperatures are going high or they're going too low, climate changes are for real. How do you look at that? Also, since your trucks are construction machines, which could also be used in mines, I think some months back there was a new regulation for mining trucks where you need to fit a beacon on the top and have a buzzer to alert the surroundings in case the driver is not paying enough attention. I think Aisha revealed a collaborative solution with one of the suppliers. How would you sum all of this up in where the future lies?
So one is, I mean, fine, this level of autonomous driving, right? So level 1, level 2. What everybody seems to be doing right now as bare minimum is driver state monitoring system, what he said, which basically provides the alert to the driver. That's one. You have active safety, passive safety. So what if there is a crash? Okay, that's one. So you kind of crash tested cabins and then levels and stringent, right? Second is, of course, in how to avoid a crash. So how do you keep him alert, right?
If I may interrupt, there's the other side, the transporter sitting here, who said that, okay, we want it at competitive rates.
No, so I will address that also without taking too much time. Now, second thing is you talked about this, it's a little sensitive topic for me. This air conditioning is now coming after a long time. Last time it came, somebody says, pankha de do, right? And now I understand that ACs are going to be given as kits with the cowl truck. So, I mean, you can't say that I am putting AC for safety, because cowl definitely is not a safer truck, right? It should be a factory fitted, fully built truck, meeting those CAP standards, safety standards. That's one. Coming to the other part, in terms of, let us say, ADAS features, lane assist, park assist and all that we get to see in the cars. Actually, if you drive an ADAS car, you will not like it. You want to change the lane, it won't allow you to. Of course, you can change the lane by giving an indicator. The moment you put an indicator, it will allow you to change the lane, but otherwise it will not allow you. We are habituated to drive. I really don't know. Highway trucks, maybe yes. City में वो बीच में कुत्ता आ जाता है, गाय बैठी है, नहीं चक्की नहीं चलेगा, मैं बता रहा हूँ आपको. I don't, maybe somehow in Mumbai and all the truck will not operate. I don't know about Delhi.
Switch off in town.
So, I mean, second thing is yes, how much a transporter is willing to pay? I think transporter is not willing to pay anything. Because somehow or the other in our culture, we believe that any improvement should straight away be improvement in the efficiency, which means that it should be managed within the same cost. All alternate fuel adoption, whatever he is talking in what segment, what I am talking in what segment, etc., and somebody else who is not here today on the panel, they are also selling, right? I want to know one single segment or a customer who has said, "Yaar, I want to pay higher price and take an alternate fuel because it is cleaner." Our whole adoption to green mobility is not based on carbon reduction. When I meet 10 customers, all the 10 customers ask me, in our use case, what will be the cost saving? Out of that 10 customers, 9 customers don't even ask me what is the carbon saving. They don't ask. So let's face it, the reality is everything that we are doing, and if it is getting adopted, it is getting adopted only because it is bringing or improving efficiency. I think we as a society are like that, कि कुछ भी चेंज करना है तो फायदा होगा तो चेंज करेंगे, फायदा मतलब पैसा, ये एक रियलिटी है. So I think safety features are gaining importance, maybe not as much as what you and I would have liked them to, but yes, yeah, I mean it will take its own time, and it is not really easy to drive that ADAS level 2 truck, I can tell you that much. Emergency braking maybe yes.
So for the lack of time, we'll stop here. From what Siddharth said, his last comments, it seems money is still the king, and that will dictate how a truck of the future or how a commercial vehicle of the future would be. The transporter is the king, and he has the money. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you, Bhushan.
I'll request everyone to kindly take the center stage for a group photo op. Now I'll request my colleague Bhushan to hand over certificate.